Hey friends, welcome to the Plaid X2 channel. My name is John. On this channel we talk all things physical media, movies, music, and books. If you're into that kind of thing, go ahead and subscribe down below for more of that kind of content. Friends, this is a bit of a different video. Again, this channel is about movies, music, and books. So this video is going to be on movies and music, in particular films and their soundtracks or their scores. So in this video, I'm going to take you through, I wanted to do a list of 10, but I couldn't narrow it down to 10, so it's 11. So it's my top 11 films that I have that I think are fantastic films that have outstanding soundtracks. So anyway, in the comments below, let me know what you think of these films, but also let me know what are some of your favorite films that you think also have incredible soundtracks. So anyway, friends, here are my top 11. Okay, so these are in no particular order. I'm just going to go through these. These are just 11 films with 11 amazing soundtracks. And the first one is one of my all-time favorite films. You've got Mel Gibson's Braveheart, and the soundtrack to this is absolutely amazing. This is a soundtrack I can just put on while I'm in the office at work and just listen to this one nonstop. You can find this, if you ever look for this, you go to a thrift store. I've seen these a million times. And so I would highly recommend, if you don't have the soundtrack, to pick it up for this incredible film, incredible soundtrack. The first one we have here is Braveheart. Okay, so next we're going with one of my all-time favorite actresses and one of my favorite actors as well. And this is just an amazing film, and it comes from 1956, and it is Audrey Hepburn and Fred Astaire in Funny Face. This is an awesome, awesome film. Everything Audrey Hepburn did was incredible. I just love her work. Fred Astaire is so great, and the two of them together I thought was a really fun pair. And the soundtrack I found at a Goodwill a number of years ago, and the cover art on this is gorgeous. So we have the Funny Face soundtrack here. The music in this is really fun, really light, and highly recommend it. So if you enjoy the film, you'll love to have this soundtrack as well. So Funny Face is the second incredible film and incredible soundtrack I'll highlight. So for this next film, it's one that I was actually late to, and I avoided this one like the plague. And eventually I watched it, like half-heartedly turned it on, and absolutely fell in love with this film. And I love this film so much. And the soundtrack, I also found it at a Goodwill and was so glad to add it to the collection. And this is Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone in La La Land. This is such a great film. I love it. If you are not into musicals, me either. But clearly I am with this one. This is so, so good. Tons of heart, a lot of humor. Love it. And the soundtrack is just absolutely outstanding. And if you don't have the soundtrack, it's so worth picking up. If you are into physical media, pick it up on CD or on vinyl. Great, great soundtrack. So La La Land, I think, is a fantastic film and clearly an amazing soundtrack. So for the next film, we're going into the 90s, right in the middle, 1994. Stacked cast. Love this film. It's Winona Ryder, Ethan Hawke, Ben Stiller in Reality Bites. This is just a full-on great 90s film. Absolutely love this film. And the soundtrack is outstanding. Highly recommend this one. You'll find this. I found this at... oh my goodness. I know I've found this many, many times in thrift stores. You'll find this anywhere. But the soundtrack has got killer bands on there. You've got The Knack on here. You've got Big Mountains on here. U2's on here. Ethan Hawke sings on here. Lisa Loeb's on here. This is just an amazing soundtrack. Lenny Kravitz here. A killer, killer soundtrack. Highly recommend this one. So if you want a real just good taste of the 90s, Reality Bites, the film and the soundtrack, both fantastic. All right, so for the next one, we are going to the Criterion Collection and we're going to vinyl. So this is Spine number 1160. Just picked it up in this most recent sale. This is a masterpiece. I, of course, have seen this film a couple of times before. Looking forward to seeing it in the Criterion edition. It is Denzel Washington, a Spike Lee joined in Malcolm X. Powerful, powerful film, and I've got to say, so I watched this when it came out, loved it, and the film, or the soundtrack to this film, also I had as soon as it came out, and I loved it. And this one I picked up just a couple of years ago, first time on vinyl in the United States, translucent red vinyl. This is a Record Store Day purchase, exclusive, and this is Malcolm X on vinyl. This is an unbelievable soundtrack. It is so worth picking up for your collection if you don't yet have it. So for this next one, we're going Criterion and we're going vinyl for Malcolm X, an unbelievable film, masterpiece of a film, and just a brilliant soundtrack. All right, next we're going to one of my favorite actors of all time, and this is not part of the Criterion Collection, but we are looking at vinyl again. So I love this one. I love this man, Robin Williams, Good Morning Vietnam. This is such a great film. Added this one to the collection a few years ago. So good. And the soundtrack I picked up at a record store, a local record store. Good Morning Vietnam. So good. What's so great about this soundtrack is you have amazing, so you've got the Beach Boys on here. You've got the Searchers, more Beach Boys, James Brown. You've got the Vogues, Louis Armstrong. It is such a great soundtrack. But in between all of the songs, you've got Robin Williams. So there are the clips of him from the film with him on the radio, and it's so good. It's so great to hear his voice, so great to hear him telling jokes. So this is a great soundtrack. I would highly recommend this one. Amazing film, great soundtrack on vinyl. Good Morning Vietnam. So next we're going to go with Kino, and we're going to stick with vinyl. This is a film from 1963. It is a masterpiece. Twilight Time had it, lost it when Twilight Time went under. I thought I was going to have to pay a crazy price for this film. Thankfully, Kino picked it up, re-released it. So good. Sidney Poitier in Lilies of the Field. This film is so amazing. During the sale, I don't know if in the Kino sale it's happening right now. I don't know if this one is one of their sale items, but it is so worth picking up. So keep an eye on this one. Pick this one up. So good. And as for the soundtrack, I found this one at it was either a flea market or a yard sale, and it was in pristine condition. The vinyl was, and it is Lilies of the Field on vinyl. The music for this is so good. Highly recommend this one. So glad that I found this one. If you don't have the film, you don't have the soundtrack, both are absolutely worth picking up. Lilies of the Field. All right, so friends, I've got 4 more for you, and all 4 of these are 4 of my all-time favorite films. So, of course, I'm going to have these films in the collection, and of course, I'm going to have the soundtrack. This one, I could put this in any day of the week. I love it. I always smile throughout the entire film, and it's Tom Hanks in That Thing You Do. This is such a great film. If you don't have this one, I cannot possibly recommend this more. It is so fun. If you've ever played in a band, you'll absolutely love this film. And the soundtrack, of course, is just brilliant. I think this one I picked up for $1 at a thrift store somewhere. So good, so amazing. If you don't have the film, you don't have the soundtrack, friends, it is so worth picking up. This is just so good. I can't speak about it highly enough, That Thing You Do. All right, this is, there's no way I can order these films. These are 3 of my just absolute favorites. This one I've talked about on the channel quite a bit. It's just really fun. Jim Carrey, Jeff Daniels in Dumb and Dumber. Of course, I have it on DVD until they release the theatrical cut on Blu-ray, maybe even 4K someday. But I've got this one on DVD. Love this film. I have so many memories of it. If you look up film stories on this channel, maybe a year or 2 ago, I tell the story about why this is so significant to me. It does mean a lot to me. And of course, the soundtrack is so good. This is a great soundtrack. If you're doing a road trip, throw this one on and you'll just have a smile on your face the entire time. It is such a great soundtrack. So fun. Dumb and Dumber, comedy classic. The soundtrack is so good. It's worth having them both, friends. Dumb and Dumber. Okay, friends, these are like 2 favorite franchises of all time. There's no way I can pick a favorite. I love them both so much for different reasons. Both have a ton of heart. Both are so exciting. And of course, I've got to have the soundtracks as well. So the Lord of the Rings trilogy, I've got it here on 4K. This is front to back amazing. I cry in all 3 of these films. Of course, I watch the extendeds. So good. Love it. And the soundtrack is just absolutely brilliant. And I do have it for the Fellowship of the Ring. You've got The Two Towers and Return of the King. So have all 3 of these on CD. So good. So much incredible music here. The films are, if you've never seen, you have to have seen the films. They're so good. But anyway, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, the films, the soundtrack, highly recommend. Love these front to back. Could watch them any day. The Lord of the Rings. All right, so this one, between this and Lord of the Rings, are my favorite movies of all time. And this one is Rocky, Sylvester Stallone. This is Rocky 1 through 5 with Rocky Balboa. Absolutely love. These films are just, in my opinion, just so good. The story is incredible. Love it. The first film is my favorite of all of them. It's so good. Of course, I would have to have this soundtrack as well. I've got this one on CD, and of course, I have this one on vinyl as well. I would have to have this one on vinyl. So it is so good. It is the soundtrack is iconic. It's just such a great score to this film, Bill Conti. And so let me arrange this a little bit. Rocky, friends. The film, the soundtrack, it's so worth having in the collection. So fun, so inspiring. Highly recommend it. And so for my last one, I'll recommend to you today, it's Rocky. So friends, thanks for checking out this video. I actually had a lot of fun doing this, going through the music collection, going through the film collection, and being able to show you some of my all-time favorite films and all-time favorite soundtracks. Let me know in the comments below, what are some of your favorite films that you think have just incredible soundtracks? Would love to hear from you. Always open to some new recommendations. Anyway, friends, thanks so much for checking out this video. As always, really appreciate it. Take care of yourself. We'll see you next time.